Kenneth's Jeep always comes with snacks. So, at Easter Jeep Safari last year, I got a certificate for Armorlite. This is interior surface replacement for carpet that allows you to easily clean and take care of your Jeep, not worry about tracking trail sand, trail mud, all that kind of stuff in your Jeep.
Hair.
Dog hair for sure. I'm so grateful that Armorlite made this contribution to the auction and to the Friday drawing. Thank you very, very much for doing that. The problem is they don't really make anything for TJ, and Penny's already covered with this because her interior has been sprayed with
Raptor.
Yeah, Raptor liner. Thank you. So I'm actually covered for this. But I know someone who's got a JL who would like to get rid of his carpet.
So I guess that would be me. I have a JL. This will fit a JL. I have dogs. Factory carpet from Mopar. Tracks, holds, retains dog hair. And you just cannot ever seem to get that stuff out. I had a replacement flooring in my last Jeep. Was much easier to maintain. We're going to do the replacement flooring in my Jeep. Just like that, we have the pieces. So this is going to be a passenger side. You see it's a nicely formed, shaped, and it's going to drop right in like it needs to. I may have a little bit of modification to do for this because sitting right about here in my vehicle is my ARB twin air compressor. And to put that in, I had to modify the factory carpet. So I expect I may have to do some trimming on this for the same reason. And that's going to be a driver's side. And the remaining third piece that is here will be our rear seats. I opted for the lighter color just because I've got so much black in the interior of this thing. And I've actually got the lighter colored seats and elsewhere and just help lighten up the interior of the vehicle.
Looks like it's got a lot of similar traction properties to my Raptor liner spray.
Probably similar, but it's got a lot more sound deadening properties.
Oh yeah, and Raptor liner has none of that.
And then down in the bottom we have our invoice. We've got our flooring in front and rear for the 18 to current desert khaki, and 4 drain plugs, which presumably are the lumpy things inside the envelope. We have a set of 4 drain plugs and a set of 4 drain plugs. So these actually snap through the liner and line up with the holes through the vehicle. So if you've got water in your floorboards that you want to let out, it's right there. And this is another set of retainers, installation instructions that are basically go here.
And we did go here.
They've got some nice videos and some installation instructions. And of course, an extra 25 horsepower.
So this video is not meant to be a replacement for their instructions. Their instruction video is actually really good. We just want to share with you our experience on this particular install. Sigh. I just detailed this. It's already really dusty.
So, mentioned I have dogs. This is a product from 4K9s. 4K-N-I-N-E-S. They do a really nice, heavy, waterproof cover. Once again, easier to take this stuff out and run it through the washing machine than it is to wash my interior. However, if you just come in here and start to look a little bit, you immediately see what this is about. It's this tendency of the factory carpet just to whatever little bit of hair, dirt, whatever that gets in here ends up just embedded, and it is really hard to get it out. So we'll start by getting the Jeep ready, put some things away, and then we'll start taking apart the interior and removing the factory carpet.
You can also tell that Kenneth has been long thinking about the tan interior, and he's done that with his chosen bar tack seat covers as well. Kenneth, these are the second vehicle you've had these seat covers, not these specific ones, but this brand in.
Yeah, Well, and again, Bartak does a really nice, basically waterproof seat cover. I work in a shop. I go to places like Moab. The Jeep has a leather interior, and I would much rather something I can pull off, run through a washing machine, and not have it be permanently staining or tearing up my leather for the days that I do want the Jeep to look nice, because I can always pull the seat covers back off and have my leather interior when I want it. So prep, the first thing you got to do obviously is going to be to pull out your existing floor mats, because they're sitting on top of the carpet that you're trying to remove.
I don't believe those have ever been out, and you can still see that dog hair got.
What I want you to do is to remove the kick panels and the trim panels from the front and the rear, which does require removing the electrical wiring harness here at the front of the doors. Basically the same procedure you go through if you remove the doors, but then actually removing the trim as well. You don't want to yank on it too hard because it does come towards you. And then make sure the latch is released, and then disconnect the wiring and the safety strap. That's the part of this that you would do anytime you're removing the doors from your Jeep. Then there's looks like a 10mm here that needs to come off to allow this panel to come out. And the trim is just in there with snaps. You just need to get it to a point where it's loose, so it doesn't have to come completely out. It just needs to be where you can manipulate around it. And you just need to do the same thing in the rear to remove the trim from the second portion.
What do we do about the plane? The plane! The plane!
So when you look at the snaps that hold this panel in place, you see they're all set up to where they want to slide out, not up. So don't pull up, you'll break things. Pull in towards the interior. Same in the rear.
That's one of your doggos.
Yeah.
Hi, Flashy. Anybody flying Southwest and landing at DIA? Well, there you are. Like you gotta kind of wiggle and jiggle that piece.
A little bit. Yeah, and now we have to repeat the same set of steps on the passenger side. So as you're working with this stuff, if you think you need a prying tool, it's best to have one that is plastic. Less likely to tear things up, make a mess, create other problems. So, just makes life a lot easier. Cheap things you can pick up from Harbor Freight or Amazon, wherever. It just gives you a ability to pry some of these plugs out that you will need to remove to get this done. Okay. Got that loose. Okay. So, like I said, this may be the piece that requires a little bit of work, because I have my ARB compressor here that sits under the passenger seat. So, continuing on. Disconnect this here at the B-pillar, and then continue with the B-pillar trim. And this is my CB wiring. It's a T50 for the seat bolts, and I'm guessing probably a 18, and it's an 18 for the bolts into the rear. These are not strictly required to come out. The factory carpet is sort of perforated to allow that to be cut or to slide out without it. I'm going to choose not to break those factory perforations, though. I don't have to, so I'm not going to. Seat bolts, seat belt bolts. These tend to be put together with Loctite from the factory, so they take a little bit to get them loose.
I don't know if I can hold it.
There's a strap around that. It does become a good excuse to clean all the stuff out of your Jeep, because it all has to come out of the Jeep to remove the floor. Oh. And then we can set that down behind it. And now take the front seat bolts loose so we can get the carpet out from underneath them. And that one's got dirt in it. Take.
I got handed a tool, so it's time for me to go to work on this now too.
That one is uncooperative.
Well, mine wasn't exactly willing to party as it either.
So there's a round cover that sits right here, and behind it is the front console bolt. You have to remove this on both sides. Now we're going to slide the seats forward, because there's two bolts just like those on the back of the console would have to be released. Or behind this cover. Now, that cover is slightly recessed, so I can't get into it with my panel tool. I hate using steel tools on plastic because it has a tendency to tear them up. Just be very careful when you get in there to try to remove that cover. And then remove the bolt. So next up, we've got the console is now loose. We want to remove the carpet. This may be easier with another set of hands to kind of lift things up and slide the carpet out from underneath the seats.
What, dropping a seat on your head was not what you wanted to do?
Now it can go your way.
Yep. Factory carpet, doggo hair. Want to see? Want to see? Want to see? Oh.
All the sound deadening materials.
Doesn't have the step in the instructions, but I bet the next set of instructions, well, I mean, we're going to remove the front carpet, yes, would be to, you know, vacuum.
I think so too.
Yeah, me too.
The things you find.
Yeah, but how much did Penny pay you when you cleaned her out? I mean, I think she paid Kenneth and Roy something around the order of $3. Plus a really expired debit card.
So these are the drain plugs right here in the floor. I'm going to go ahead and take them out. That will allow us to just put the drain plugs in for the others. To accommodate the ARB compressor, the ducting here had to be trimmed back, so it's not quite the full length that it normally would be. This blows directly on the compressor now, which is good, as you can now run ducted air to help cool the compressor while it's running, but it no longer ducts air to behind the passenger seat. We also used the drain plug here that is under the passenger seat as a pathway to run the power for the ARB compressor that's here. Okay, we're trying to figure out what exactly we need to do at this point to put this in. The question is, it talks about removing the factory posts. We need to figure out which posts we need to remove, and if there's more to it than just something obvious. So this is the driver's side carpet piece here. And these are the posts they're talking about here. These posts, you remove the plastic, you've still got this metal post sticking up. And that metal post is going to be right underneath this here. Now, there is kind of a raised spot there, and there's a raised spot on the other side. So I think these will accommodate those little spikes sticking up. This spot here, I think, will accommodate this one. And this spot here will accommodate this one and the one forward. So I think this will be fine.
This is what we're getting at. I mean, the only thing it says is unscrew plastic floor mat posts. And it shows pictures of the plastic, but of course there's the metal one underneath. So we're gonna give it a go. Something I was curious about was how well the tans matched. Not that they have to be matchy-matchy, but they don't. And you know what? That's okay. One vendor does not have to match another vendor's version of tan.
So the next trick is going to be to fish this down in here. And I'm going to say the pro tip, take the time, take the front seats out completely. This will be a lot easier.
And this is the cleanest it will ever be. Ever, ever again.
Ever. That is settled in where it wants to go. Now, we do need to address where the compressor is going to sit and potentially trim this a little bit to accommodate the compressor.
What about those pins? Did they prove to be a problem?
Don't seem to be. Or at least they're not sticking up through the floor in a way that is making it not sit where it should.
So we were worried about nothing.
Follow the instructions, they seem to be okay.
Cool.
Right, so to accommodate my compressor, I'm going to need to basically trim this section here of this carpet kit out, because that's space that the compressor wants to occupy.
And I made it look like a big piece because of the camera angle. But if I can get down here, it's really not that much.
Shouldn't be that much. Basically just straight from this notch over and then down. And then I think I'm going to come out the back side of the R here.
You tried to use
A pair of tin snips.
and the success rate?
Not great. New tool, just a razor knife. It's not working dramatically better, however. The flooring itself is pretty tough stuff, which is good. That's why you buy this. So in the grand scheme, not a huge amount of material removed. Best tool for this ended up just being a plain old box knife. And just be patient, work your way through the urethane slowly, and then the backing is tough as well in its own right, and it's a different kind of tough, which I think is why the scissors or the snips weren't going to cut through it. It just wasn't getting through the backing. But yeah, not a huge amount of material that had to be removed just to give clearance for the air compressor.
So yes, we are recognizing that we did 2 steps in reverse order. Supposed to be install the rear and then the front. We did the front, then the rear. But it is what it is. We're moving on with life. Where do you want to go in? You want to go in just like this?
Okay, more of the same. The flooring goes all the way to the front. You can see where I trimmed some of this other and the overlap that is in the flooring between the front and the rear sections. Because of the compressor sitting here, I don't want this flooring here. That would be right up against the compressor, which is going to get hot. It's going to get melt and just generally be a bad thing. So what I'm going to do, I think it's just right across the forward section here so that I get as much of this under the seat as I can. But cut this forward section here and just remove this forward bit of the flooring.
Just taking a minute using scissors just to bevel the loose underlayment completely out of the way of his compressor.
Lift the seat forward.
Resorting to the trusty hand light because, well, it's starting to get dark out. So the drain plug seemed to locate everything and kind of make sure everything's put in the proper place before starting to replace all of the other components. Following the drain plug installation, the instructions call for putting the B-pillar and much of the trim back on before tightening down these seat bolts. These look like pretty much a press fit. Okay, a palm fit.
Okay, so this is the plug here. And it goes in just like a grommet. You just kind of work its way down in there into the hole past all these ribs, which kind of hold the thing in place once it's in there. So, because I have this out, I'm going to wipe it down.
It's a great idea. Well, we've given up shooting because it's just simply too dark. However, the trim has gone in pretty well. We took the time to clean it up with a little bit of Adams polishes, which is good. I like that stuff quite a lot. And then Kenneth is now reinstalling the bolts. The bolts, the instructions say to torque them to 48 Newton meters. So he'll be doing that and as he goes. And then there's some trim bolt covers that need to be installed. And then he will be done. Honestly, not that difficult of a project. It did require 2 people, or at least 2 people were really helpful. And he did say that, you know, pro tip, remove the seats. That does involve removing the seat belts, though, and that's just not something he really wanted to do today. But if he was to do this again, the desire to remove the seats, therefore the seat belts, a lot higher. So definitely thumbs up. We like the fit, we like the finish. We'll have to see how it wears a little bit, and we'll give you a report back. But so far, thank you again, Armorlite, for your donation to the Easter Jeep Safari Friday night drawing. We really do appreciate it.
And this is pretty much going to wrap up the Armorlite install. So we've got the cargo mat in, and I've got my best top security enclosure back in place. You can see that when it's all said and done, the enclosure comes right down to the Armorlite, and then all the way around. So it does close up and makes the enclosed area here nice and tight and clean. They do provide the scribe marks if you want to retain the lift up enclosure and have access to your jack and the little cubby hole. So you just cut those scribe lines and away you go. Definitely a little bit of a challenge getting it in on this one. A lot of this I think is due to the making things that were never designed to fit together work in the same vehicle. I'm a big fan of the enclosure in the back. Keeps the stuff that is in my Jeep out of other people's sight. Also keeps it from trying to run over the top of my dogs in the back seat. So this is kind of the price you pay for making things work. But I think in the end this is going to work out well.